Somewhere behind the Iron Curtain, in a city the rest of the world couldn't see into, a woman walked out every morning with a camera around her neck. She photographed children running on streets named after dead cosmonauts. She photographed couples on crowded trains, old men with cigarettes, women carrying bags through gray Leningrad winters. She photographed her lovers, her daughter, her own reflection. She shot nearly every single day for almost 40 years. Then she went home, packed the film into a dated envelope, climbed the stairs to her attic, and put it away. Nobody saw any of it. Not once. Not ever. Not while she was alive. Her name was Masha Ivashintsova, and the world she photographed was one that the Soviet state worked very hard to make sure you never got to see. Leningrad in the 1960s was not the city tourists came to photograph. It was a closed world. Surveillance, propaganda, the slow grind of communist life pressing down on ordinary people who were expected to perform happiness for the state and feel nothing inconvenient in private. The official photography of that era looked like a poster: smiling workers, gleaming factories, a country marching forward with perfect confidence into a perfect future. What Masha was shooting looked nothing like that. She was born in 1942 into an aristocratic family that had already lost everything. The Bolshevik Revolution had stripped them of their estate, their apartment in central Leningrad, their position. She grew up with the knowledge that her family's world had been taken. As a child, her grandmother pushed her into ballet, and for a while, that was the shape her life was meant to take. Then her grandmother died, and the academy was gone, and she was enrolled in a technical college instead. The life that was planned for her dissolved before she could fully inhabit it. She found her way into Leningrad's underground. This was a small and remarkable world. Poets, photographers, painters, meeting in back rooms and borrowed apartments, making work that the state would never sanction and never celebrate. In a country where an unofficial photographer could be labeled a spy, where your camera and your film could be seized on the street with no explanation required, these people kept creating anyway. It was an act of quiet defiance, just to pick up a camera and point it at the truth. Masha picked up a Leica 3C. She picked up a Rolleiflex. She loaded Sfema film, and she walked out into the city. What she brought back was extraordinary. She photographed strangers with an intimacy that most photographers spend entire careers trying to learn. That quality where the subject doesn't look like they're being watched, where you feel you're seeing something real rather than performed. Soviet citizens caught laughing on community trains. A couple with a stroller on a Leningrad sidewalk. Children in Vologda. The banks of the Neva in winter. A ruined statue of Stalin. A chained monkey peering out at the world through the bars of its cage. She had an eye that understood exactly what it was looking at. The beauty inside the gray. The humanity inside the system. The private life that official Soviet photography had decided didn't exist. And she shot all of it in complete secrecy. In the 1960s and 70s, being caught with a camera in the wrong place at the wrong moment meant real consequences. The state didn't need a specific charge to make your life very difficult. Masha moved through Leningrad like she had always lived there, which she had, blending into the streets she was documenting, becoming invisible in the way that the best street photographers always must. She worked odd jobs her whole life: theater critic, librarian, cloakroom attendant, elevator mechanic, security guard. She was a chameleon, her daughter would later say, always camouflaging her inner artist. But something else was happening alongside the photography. Masha's personal life was complex and painful in ways that would eventually shape her silence more than the KGB ever could. She loved 3 men across her lifetime: photographer Boris Smelov, poet Viktor Krivolin, and linguist Melvar Melkumian. All 3 were known and admired within the underground. All 3 were brilliant in ways that Masha, standing next to them, decided made her invisible. Her daughter Asya would later write, "She sincerely believed that she paled next to them, and consequently never showed her photography, her diaries, or her poetry to anyone during her life." That train ride rerouted everything. He was already a name in Leningrad photography circles. She kept shooting, every day, like breathing, Asya would say, and kept packing the film into envelopes, developing almost none of it, climbing the stairs, putting it away. By the early 1980s, depression had taken hold in a way that wouldn't release. She stopped working. In the Soviet Union, unemployment wasn't a private struggle, it was a criminal offense. The state gave her a choice: prison or a psychiatric hospital. She chose the hospital. Over the following decade, she moved in and out of Soviet mental institutions, where the goal was never healing. It was standardization, compliance. Her family says the system gradually broke her. Drugs administered routinely, personhood worn down by design. She kept photographing through all of it. Right up until a year before her death, Masha was still walking out with her camera, still seeing the world the way only she could see it, still coming home and putting the film away. 30,000 negatives across nearly 4 decades, every envelope dated, every roll preserved. She died of cancer on July 13th, 2000. She was 58 years old. Her daughter Asya knew the boxes were in the attic. She couldn't bring herself to open them, not for 17 years. She even tried at one point to give them away. Nobody wanted them. Nobody thought to ask what was inside. Then in 2017, during home renovation, Asya and her husband finally opened the boxes. They developed the negatives. They scanned the prints. They showed them to friends. The reaction was immediate. These weren't the photographs of someone who had been dabbling. They were the work of a photographer who had understood her craft completely, who had looked at Soviet life from the inside, from the underground, from the margins, and had captured something that no official lens would ever have been allowed to show. Critics reached for the only comparison that seemed to fit: Vivian Maier, the American photographer whose hidden archive was also discovered after her death. 2 women, 2 Cold War cities, the same silence, the same discovery too late. But Masha's photographs carry something that belongs entirely to her own world. Behind the Iron Curtain, in a city sealed off from the outside, she documented what it actually looked like to live inside the system. Not the poster version, not the propaganda version, but the real one. Laughing children and ruined statues. A chained monkey peering through bars 3 years before Masha herself would be committed to a hospital she didn't choose. Her daughter looked at that photograph years later and wrote, "Sometimes I think I see a warning, a sort of premonition in her photography." She saw everything. She recorded everything. She hid everything. And now, finally, the Iron Curtain has lifted on her work. Not through politics or treaties or the slow erosion of history, but through a daughter opening a box in an attic, 17 years too late, and finding her mother waiting inside.